How would you like to be remembered as a man?
Number one.
Put it in your head that you don't want to make mistakes, and normally then you're gonna make mistakes.
You know, listening to music's really important for me, just to kind of take me out the zone of.
And not necessarily don't have to talk about what you're anxious about.
You know, I think it's important to find the things that work for you.
Now all of that sounds great, but what if it still doesn't help? Now the first thing that you can do is you can write down your thoughts. And of course, writing them down sounds like cliche, but you don't just want to write them down. You want to write them down like a narrative. You're going to start your sentences with I'm having a thought about, or you could also say I'm thinking about. And then this will help you then take a step back from your feelings and actually help you articulate them better and put them in words better. But my personal favorite thing to do is to write my feelings down exactly as it is in my mind, and to keep it as raw as possible, either on paper or on my phone. Especially when you have a thought that you can't stop thinking about, like when you missed a shot, or when your teammate has called you out for a mistake that you made and her words or his words really hurt you. Writing them down as raw as it is, or as you're thinking, can actually help you disassociate yourself from those feelings. And if you feel like cursing, you write that down. If you feel like yelling at them, you write it down in capitals. You write all the cuss words down as much as you want. And it might sound a bit extreme, but even if you wish them dead, you have to write that down.
Couldn't you just stay dead?
And the reason for this is because when you write it down, you're helping yourself let go of those feelings and you're not feeding on them. And the reason why people are able to take so drastic steps whenever they have heavy emotions is because they are feeding those emotions by not letting them out. Every time they have an emotion, they just keep it suppressed and they keep it suppressed, and there comes a point where they can't drown those emotions anymore and they overflow. And when those emotions overflow, that's when you make decisions that you later on regret. So make sure you write those feelings down, all of them, as raw as possible, so you're able to get it out of your mind and you stop feeding it and you're able to let it go. Now sometimes when you're feeling down, you don't actually understand what you're feeling. You just know that you're not feeling as you should and you want to be able to overcome that feeling, but because you don't understand it, you don't know where to start. So the second tip is to use a feelings wheel. Now the feelings wheel is a wheel that will help you understand your feelings better. Say for example, you're feeling sad. Now sad is a very broad spectrum, so you can dive in deeper and look at what kind of sadness it is. And say you're feeling depressed. Now even for depression, you can dive in a little deeper and you can see if you're feeling inferior or you're feeling empty. And once you understand your feelings better, you'll be able to get to the root of the cause and you'll be able to make yourself feel better because of it. And once you do know what you're actually feeling, then you can start asking yourself, why are you feeling that way? Were you unprepared for the match? Or did someone say something to you at training and then you've been holding on to that because you weren't able to let it go? And if so, how can you overcome that so that you'll be able to do better in your next match or in your next training session? And oftentimes they're not. Hysterical is usually historical. And what this means is that when we get overwhelming emotions and we start becoming hysterical, it's usually associated with something that is historical, because we have been holding on to something that has been eating at us, and therefore when the time has come to deal with it and we don't want to do it and the emotions have overflown, this is when we become hysterical about it and we don't know what to do with those feelings. Now number 3 is to not get so personal about things. And what I mean by this is that imagine you're walking on the street and you wave your hand at someone who you think is looking at you. Now you wave at them but they don't wave back at you. Now your brain immediately goes to, oh, they're not waving at me because of what I said. Or is it because of what I did the other day? Or did they find out about this and this and that? Now there could be 1,000 reasons why that person didn't wave back at you. It could just probably be because they didn't see you or they were looking at something else and you thought that they were looking at you. But your brain gets so fixated on that one reason and you're so hard on yourself that you refuse to see any other reasoning to that situation. In football, this is usually if your teammate doesn't pass to you, especially when you call for the ball, your mind usually resorts to, well, it must have been a mistake that I made at training, or it must have been because of something that I said to them at training, or it's because I called them out for a mistake that they made and now they hate me. There could be so many reasons why that pass wasn't made to you, and it could be as simple as your teammate just didn't see you in that moment.
You can't see me.
Because they were looking at someone behind you, or maybe they were looking at someone in front of you, or maybe they were just too nervous themselves to lift their head up and look for a pass. So if you don't necessarily get your way in a match or in training, don't beat yourself too much about it, because oftentimes they're not, it's probably about them and not so much about you. Now step number 4 is to stop mental sieving. And mental sieving is basically when you sieve out all the good thoughts and the good comments and you only keep the bad ones for yourself. So for example, a coach praises you for something that you did good in a match, but your teammate calls you out for a mistake that you made in training, and you fixate on that thing that your teammate said to you and you ignore all the good things that you have done before. And it's very easy for us footballers to do this because we are so fixated and trained that criticism is everything and it'll help you improve your game. And although criticism is important for you to improve your game, you also have to realize that you need a balance between the good and the bad, so that whenever things don't go your way, you actually have something to fall onto and something to rely on so that you can get your hit back in training or in the game. And now with social media, it's so much easier for us to filter out all the good things and just look at the negative comments that people give us, especially when there's one negative comment against all the other tens and hundreds of positive comments. We tend to fixate on that one mean thing that someone said to us, who probably doesn't even know us and is just there to throw unnecessary hate because they are feeling bad about themselves. So make sure you don't get too hyper aware of the negative, that you don't allow yourself to see and feel the positive things, let alone enjoy them. Remember, you started playing football because you fell in love with the game, so make sure you don't allow anyone from the outside to be the gatekeeper of your dreams. And the next time you go for a training or a trial or a match, just remember, when you're feeling nervous, that nervousness is just misplaced excitement. But thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed that video, please hit the subscribe button down below and I'll see you in the next one. Cheers!